Bente, welcome.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of our podcast. Today we have Bente Maalen, a local producer here in Trondheim. And yes, I guess I want to get straight into the questions. If we can start a little bit about your journey, how you started as a producer and how you got into the industry.
Well, where to start? I did study, but not film production. I studied film science at the university here in Trondheim.
At NTNU?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was also very active in the film society here in Trondheim for many years while I was studying. And then when I was done studying, I got a job at the film festival here when it started. Kosmorama.
Kosmorama, okay.
Yeah. And I worked there for 10 years. And then while I was there, I also started up a horror film festival in Oppdal called Ramaskrik. Then after working at Kosmorama for 10 years, I got the opportunity to be an intern on a feature film production that was here in Trondheim. And had some time off work to do that, just to try something new, because I'd been at the festival for so many years, and I wanted to see the other side of the film industry, where the production side of it. And then I decided that I really enjoyed working with film production from that one production that I did. And I also was, I guess, I felt like I didn't have much more to give in the festival world. So I quit my job at Kosmorama to become a film worker.
Okay.
And see where that would take me.
What would you say that it was one thing that you learned when you were working for the film festivals that it kind of helped you to transition like to producing? Because I guess there is like some correlation between the two, or maybe it's not.
There's a lot of correlation between the two jobs. It mostly a lot of coordinating of details and, moving things around. And because when you move one thing over here, you have to change something over there. And, and it's the same with festivals as it is in a film production. You have, in a festival, you have a year of planning, and then you have 5 or 6 or 7 days of production, I guess. And it's the same with the film. You plan for a long time, and then you have just a few days of production, and then you start all over. So there's a lot of similarities between the two jobs. I don't know if there was one particular thing that led me from festivals to film production. Except for film, my love for film, and just wanting to do something else. I'm a restless person, and I like stuff to happen.
Maybe I would also like to ask you, why producing, like from all of the creative things? Because it's like a lot of things, like you can be like tons and tons of things like in the creative industry. Why producing, like specifically? Just for people also to see if they fit for themselves to be producers. Is it because of your temperament, for example? Is it because you loved one part of producing?
I think it was just a natural progress of what I was doing, because when I started working with film production, I definitely wasn't producing, and I didn't even think of producing. I actually, when someone said, "Oh, you should produce," I said, "No, I don't want to." So, and then I started working as a production coordinator, and I did that for a few years, and then production manager. And then I started working for a service company that provided production services for Norwegian and foreign films that were shooting in Norway. And we had a lot of very, very fun productions that I worked on. And I really enjoyed that job. It was very, very hectic sometimes, but it was a lot of fun and gave me a lot of experience that I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else. But after a while, I also felt that I had a creative part of me that I couldn't, that there wasn't any room for in that job, that I wanted to have a creative input on the films and maybe also work on my own projects. So I guess that is what led me to producing. And then I also worked as a line producer on several feature films. But I guess it was the want and the need to create something on my own. But at the same time, also recognizing that I'm not a scriptwriter or a director, and I actually kind of enjoy working with numbers. So, yeah.
Okay, so as far as I understand, it's like an intersection between creativity and also like a little bit more like hard logic, like this, like a little bit more facts.
Yeah, I'm a very logical person. I like working with numbers. I like structuring things. I like knowing that all the administrative things are in order. So,
let me also ask you about then when you went to the university, about what you got out of it, if it was worth it and if it actually helped you transition more smoothly into, for example, like the jobs you got after, like your studies. I'm asking that mainly just to also for me to grasp for younger people who are transitioning like from like their childhood now to their adulthood, and now all of a sudden they have to choose. Do I have to go like to a university? Do I have to maybe get straight up into productions and do it the old way, not go to a university and be like in productions and care only about learning from the actual job? Like, what do you think are the paths like in the film industry at the moment, and if you think universities like are a necessity for young people, especially when it comes for producing, if you can focus a little bit more on producing when it comes to that?
Well, that's a good question. I think no matter where you end up, education is not a bad thing. And of course, I never went to film school, so I've never gone to school to learn how to produce. But I've done all the workshops and like classes that I can do. There are several types of seminars and workshops that you can attend that lasts for some of them are like just a 2-hour webinar. And then there are week-long workshops that you can attend and those were really helpful in learning the finer details of what I do. But if I was starting out now, I think maybe I would have tried to go to film school, like the National Film School in Norway. If you go there to learn producing, it's also a very valuable education to have if you want to do something else, because it's an education in leadership. It's just focused on the film industry. So for me, studying film at NTNU and then also at the same time being a part of the Film Society was a very good combination, because I got the education that gave me, I guess, the authority to know the topics that I were talking about. And then at the same time, being in the Film Society gave me the experience and also network, because I would talk to producers and distributors to screen the films that we want to screen. We had to write, make all the programs every year and write the texts and everything. And then also we traveled quite a bit and went to festivals around the country. And I volunteered at several festivals, especially in Tromsø for the film festival there. And that also gave me experience and network that I could use. But it's the combination of like having that experience, showing an interest in doing something other than just studying, but also having the education. So I think it's a combination of those things that helped me start out in Kosmorama in the first place. And then, of course, through Kosmorama, I got a much broader network that has helped me quite a bit after.
So it's a combination. You think that it's best to also have a combination and also be like introduced to the film industry simultaneously, and not try to do one or the other.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of reinforcing each other to some capacity.
When I worked or like all the years that I've been working, I've interviewed so many students that want to be a part of the festival somehow, and not just to volunteer, but like have more responsibilities in the festival. And also, working on film crews. And when people come to me to see if they can get a job, I ask them, of course, what they do. And they're telling me about their studies. But I also always ask, what do you do on your spare time? Because I think it's very important to see that people are actually engaged in something. It doesn't have to be film production, it can be something else, but that they're actually, that they have a passion for something. Because I think that passion is eventually what's going to get you to keep going when things are tough. Because if you work in the film industry, it's going to get tough at some point. Yeah.
So you, as a producer, I guess what you're saying is you're looking for a strong why to people, so you can kind of say, okay, that person will last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes this is a hard industry, and especially working from Trondheim, it's tough, and you have days when, you have to work long hours and really put in the effort, and there's no money attached to the work. So if there is no passion there, then you're just not going to find the stamina to do it.
Yeah. Other than passion, what are some other, I guess, skills that producers and non-producers, like people that are into the film industry, they need to have to make it? Like, if you can focus a little bit more on the producing part, I guess, what are, if you can pinpoint, I don't know, 5 or how many skills you want to, pinpoint, but what are the most important skills in producing, I guess?
I guess that depends on what kind of producer you want to be.
Yeah.
For me, it's I try to always follow deals that I've made and make sure that I don't promise things that I can't keep. I want to be fair and pay people equally, sometimes equally good, sometimes equally bad, because there is not always a huge budget. Time management, and also the managing of money, of course, is important. Yeah, just a high work ethic, I think. Yeah, just that you're willing to put in the work and also treat people nicely, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Depends on what your values are, of course. Maybe you don't care about being a nice person. Maybe you just care about making money, and then you don't care about treating people nicely or paying them fairly.
Yeah. I guess it's going to be hard to make money this way, because people want, they eventually want to work with you, right?
You'd be surprised.
Really?
I think. Yeah,
Okay.
there's all kinds of producers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am still not in the industry myself. I'm kind of crawling towards there, but, for me, it's interesting that you're saying that.
In Trondheim, though, they're all only nice people, and nobody's making money. So
Love it. Love the combination.
No, that's not true. I'm joking. But there's nice people here, and and people are pretty much fair. And there's no really, there's no one in Trondheim I wouldn't recommend that you work, or I would recommend you not work with. Did that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's a nice industry here. It's nice to be here. I think it's that way in Norway on a general basis. People are usually humble, and I mean, it's just a Norwegian way. We don't celebrate huge egos in Norway.
Yeah, that's a good thing. You have a word in Norwegian for that, right?
Yeah.
That everyone is unequal. I don't remember the word in Norwegian for that.
No, we have a law.
A law, yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Janteloven.
Yeah. I've been told to 1 month ago from a friend. I was like, okay, it's really strange. Let's continue. I would like to ask you about some specifics about producing.
Okay.
About budgeting.
Okay.
A little thing about our viewers. I'm not a producer myself. I'm a DOP, so I have almost no experience when it comes to producing. But I would like to ask you, for the people who are seeing the podcast, when it comes for a younger person who still doesn't have a track record getting fundings.
Okay.
How does he, first of all, get fundings here in Norway? Where is he starting to look? Is it from... are there some places that younger people can find funding from? And the second thing is, how do they allocate their funding? How do they make their budget when you have a smaller budget? So
Okay.
that's a question.
So first of all, for young people just starting out, there are a few options on where to get funding, but it's not huge amounts. It's small amounts. It's been a while since I was a young person applying for those kinds of money, so I don't really have a good grasp on all of them. But I'm sure, like here where we are today at ISAK, I'm sure people that work here would know about where you can get project funding. I know that when this was available to me, it was usually up to 23. Like if you had most of the people involved in the project, it was up to 23 years old. You could apply for different kinds of funding. And then the film center here in Trondheim, Midtnorsk Filmsenter, they also have a project funding for like smaller projects, and I think it's up to 15 or 20,000 you can apply for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good place to start. And then the smart thing is, of course, to get a group of people together that are willing to work just to build track records and not get paid. And then you spend the money on necessities like actors and food and props and, whatever you need for your film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess that's where I know of that you can get funding if you don't have if you're not on a professional level yet.
Okay. Let me think now like a producer. When it comes to saving money, where people can cut money from, and put more money towards, like if you were starting out now and you didn't have like the biggest budget, where would you not put too much money in, and where would you put like the most amount of your money, if that makes sense?
I would try to put as much money as I could in front of the camera. So spend money on actually good actors, because that can make a huge difference, the talent and experience level of your cast. And of course, then to just make it as believable as possible. So work on costumes and set designs, but not overdoing it. Just make it sure that it's manageable, and then spend the money there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also try to keep it manageable, have as few people and few locations as possible in your film, and just try to make the projects small, not to like have small projects, but to make them manageable. And then work on trying to make a good budget and to control your expenses, and then see where you can allocate the money.
I guess what is one place you wouldn't spend too much money if you didn't have like a big budget? Like something that I guess, I'm not a producer to know, but something that younger producers could lean towards, which is not that important. I don't know, like cameras or lighting. I don't know, whatever you think. It's like it's not a necessity for smaller productions.
I think that I know people are going to disagree with me on this, but I think that like when you're starting out, you can get away with using equipment that's not super expensive, because usually if you don't have that much experience, you don't really know how to use all the the possibilities in an expensive and complicated camera. And people shoot great stuff on their phones, but you have to make sure that you put in the work in editing and lights. Maybe then if you plan to shoot on your camera, on your phone, then maybe you need to work more with lights. I don't know. Techniques are not that's not my area, but I would try to figure out how to use as little equipment as possible, but at the same time, make sure that it looks good, of course.
And I guess also lean a little bit towards the story itself.
Yeah. And then also find places where there is equipment available and people that can show you how to use it. Like, again, here at the ISAK, there's a lot of technical equipment available, and people who know how to use it, and they can help you. And maybe you can borrow it for free, or it's just like a small fee.
No, it is free, like from 16 till 25, which is like 25, you are old by then.
Yeah.
Like people can come here and we have like 3FS7s, we have like black magics, like the lighting is amazing for younger, like like people who want to delve into DOPing, I guess. And then we have like also a lot of studios.
Exactly. So lots of opportunities, and like try to find ways to find stories that are possible to do in this environment. Then don't. And what I see that a lot of people do, and experienced filmmakers too, when they make short films, is that they try to make a feature film, but in short film length. So you try to think, the story the same way that you think a feature film, but it doesn't have to be. When you're working on a short format, you can just do like a short scene. It doesn't have to be, a full story. You don't have to establish your characters. You can just play around and do lots of fun stuff without following the rules of a feature film.
Mm-hmm. Now that you said about short films, I didn't prepare this question, but I think it's interesting that you said that. What about short films for younger people? Because I've heard like two, let's say, opinions on that. There are some producers and directors that they say it's not worth it, don't do it, you're not going to make anything out of it. And they're also like the exact opposite opinion, that they're like, no, like it's a good idea to make like short films when you're younger. Like, what do you think? Like, is it better to focus a little bit more on a feature and take more time on doing a feature, or no? Or doing like a short film?
I mean, if you want to make a feature, go ahead, but just know what you want to do with it. I mean, I know that young people have made feature films that have looked amazing and that have made it to big festivals and cinema distribution and everything, but I mean, how likely is it that that's going to happen? It's, it has to be still very, very good. And I understand why people think it's a waste to make short films, but at the same time, it gives you experience. I mean, if you make 10 films and they're all crap, then you learn something. And hopefully, if you've made 10 crappy films, you sort of start realizing why they're crap, and you learn. And if you make a good short film, there's a bunch of short film festivals, and there are big producers and actors and directors and people that go there, and you can start building your network, and you get your name out there. And when you then apply and want to make your first feature film, your name is out there, and people can see your track record, and they're like, oh, this person has something to offer.
Yeah, I get you. So like it helps also a lot with networking, like to some capacity, because as soon as you get your film start circling like in the film circuit, all of a sudden you have like opening to network like with people. And now that we talked about network, like do you just like send emails, give calls to producers? Like how do you think people should go about like networking?
I think that you start, I mean, it depends on where you are in your career and life. But like, say here in Trondheim.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good place to start. If you're like really young, if you're still in high school or studying, then start with your peers and get to know everyone else that works with film and that are interested in the same thing as you are. Like hang out here and make films, or be part of Prosjektor, which is the student film production company, or be part of the film society and get to know other people. And then from there, once you start gathering experience, then you can try to get work as a production assistant, if that's your interest, if you want to work on set, or maybe an internship somewhere. And there are several social gatherings and also educational gatherings during the year in Trondheim that you can participate in. There's a short film convention every year in Trondheim that you definitely should attend and meet people and hang out. And there's always a dinner, and they have like the festival programmers from Tribeca and Sundance and like at Bente Maalen, and you can get to meet really cool people there. And just don't be afraid. And this is sort of tricky because I know that several people that work with film are quite introvert people. And then it's such a network heavy industry. So it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So just find a friend to go with, and don't be scared to just be part of, just take your place in the industry in Trondheim, just be there, always be there.
Okay.
And then, because then even if you don't really talk to anyone, then when you show up and ask for a job, they're like, oh, I've seen you around.
Yeah.
And that in itself will help people just to recognize you and know that, oh, this person, I've seen him around. There must be a reason why I've seen him around,
Yeah. So it's not only about going the first time, it's also sticking around.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also sticking around.
This is what I'm doing myself, for example, with Trondheim. The reason I'm not leaving it's because like I talked a lot with my friends from Greece and like from other places in Europe, and they're like, it seems like nothing is happening like in Trondheim. I was like, wait, like I need to give it some time to grow maybe.
Yeah.
Like if I give it time and it doesn't grow, okay, like it doesn't work. But for me, I guess it's also about people getting the feeling that you're there, and then they can start trusting you just because you're there.
Yeah.
Not even because you're like the sweetest person in the world, just because you're there. It creates, I think, a kind of like a trust.
Yeah.
Is that true? That was what I had in my head, at least.
Yeah, just at some point, people are just going to assume that you are part of the industry because you're always at all the industry events, you know? So you're not going to get very far doing that, but it's a place to start. But then, of course, you have to also actually deliver on whatever you claim to be doing.
Competent as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
To go back to your question about short films, I think just keep doing short films. And then I went to listen to this producer speak. I think she was a Swedish producer. And she said that for every production she did, she sort of upgraded something. So if she could only use amateur actors on one film, then the next one she might hire one professional actor. And then next time maybe two. And, she would, on each project, she would try to find people that were better at their job, more renowned at their job, bigger names, and just kind of for each project keep building. And eventually, it's easier to call one person and ask if they want to be a part of your project instead of trying 10 different ones. And then sort of step by step build a reputation and also a nice track record.
So each time, be conscious about making it a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I guess if you're not like if you don't have your mind focusing on that, like it's easy just to like not care about getting a little bit better every time. Okay, there is another question I'm interested into. It's again for the producing type of people. It's about pitching. Like what is the most important thing about pitching? Because I guess there's a lot of people coming to you that they pitch like their idea. So I have like this idea and I would like to get funding. And I guess there is some things that they seriously don't work. And there are some things that they seriously work, like in the pitching process.
I guess, we've all heard about the elevator pitch, that you should be able to present your project in 30 seconds or whatever. Usually you will get more than 30 seconds, but I think it's important to have a short way of presenting your project, and it needs to be like, we've worked a lot on the projects that we've been pitching to take away all the things that aren't the main story. So if there's like a side story about the main character's brother and he got someone pregnant, just it's not important. The important is the journey of the main character, and what's the point of the film? Why do you want to make it? That's also important. Mm-hmm. So what do you want to make? Why do you want to make it? And why should I want to make it? It's important to not just think that I have a great story and that should be enough. It should also have, you should be able to answer more questions around why it's important to make, why it's important for you to make, what makes this personal for you? Why should it be important for me? And is there, of course, you don't know me. So if you want to pitch a film, it needs to have something that also gets me excited about it. Because as a producer, I mean, you're going to work with a film for years and years and years. You work with it a long time before anyone else is attached. And then when everyone else goes home, you're still stuck with, paying the bills and doing post-production and you have to keep following up the film until it's been in cinemas for a long time. And even then, it's not over. You just keep working. So you need to really, really like the story and the project. So you need to find what's unique about this project and why. Yeah, not just tell me the story, but also tell me why you think I would like to work with this for many, many years.
Okay, so what is the why again? We're getting back to that. Why?
Yeah.
Why is it important? And I guess you're not talking about the money side, if we can capitalize out of it. You're talking about, as far as I get the feeling out of your energy, you're talking a little bit more about why is it important, as a story? No, why is it important as a story? Because we can make money out of it, right? This is not what you're talking about.
No.
Or you're talking about both?
Well, of course, money is always, but everyone thinks they're going to make money out of their film. So, that's... Don't say that.
I really believe that I'm making money out of my films.
Yeah, but everyone thinks that their film is going to attract thousands of people into the audience, to the cinemas. So, and that's a good thing. You need to believe in your project. But there has to be more, because it's going to be really hard. And before you even know if people are interested in watching your film, it's going to be judged by so many people. People are going to read, they're going to listen to your pitch. They're going to read your script. They're going to see your proof of concept. They're going to turn down your applications, and if you can't handle a no, if you can't handle rejection, then this is definitely not the industry to be in. But yeah, it needs to be something. I need to believe in the project. And also, it's important for me that I like working with the people that are behind the project, because again, you're going to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
And if you don't like each other, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, I get that. It's like you are stuck together. It's like almost marriage to some capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes you get invited to some tiny little festival somewhere, and they're going to ask you if you can share a room, and you really need to like the people that you work with.
Yeah, I get that.
Because you're going to spend a lot of time together, and a lot of rejections, a lot of emotions. So it's going to be
a tough one. Yeah. I get that. If I can ask you, if we can get a little bit specific here about what, a young producer, what he needs to prepare about his pitching. For example, what are the most important things that he needs to prepare? Specifically, some papers that he needs to prepare, so he's ready when he goes to a production company to pitch.
Usually, if you have a pitch, I would like to know, in addition to what I already said, I would like to see a script, or at least a treatment. And some ideas about what it's going to look like. So some references would be nice. Also a sense of realism in the project. If you come and you've written a script that's a huge action film with 30 actors and 3 shootouts and a car chase, then I need to hear that you've actually planned on how you're going to accomplish this on a small budget, So it has some kind of realism. And I won't necessarily say no, just because it's an ambitious project, but the ambition has to be realistic.
Yeah, and grounded somewhere.
Yeah.
It cannot be I want to make a sci-fi interstellar film, and then all of a sudden it's I want to make this for €1,000, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do that straight up. Maybe you can if... I don't know. I don't think you can do that, but...
No, but I mean, maybe you have an extremely talented friend that is learning how to do build sets or whatever, and that way it's grounded in some sort of realism, because you have people in your network that can deliver, and also, just there has to be a sense of realism in the project itself, and also know what you want. Do you have any people that are already attached? Do you have someone that you want to be on the cast? Have you decided that you want your friend to be the DOP or someone? Have you talked to someone? Just like have everything, know the answers. You know, if there's questions, you should know the answers. Even if the answers is no, I don't have anyone attached. This is brand new. I haven't talked to anyone about it.
Yeah. Like I have a feeling that you being prepared about those questions are gonna emit also like this energy of confidence that you know what you're talking about, that you thought deeply about your project. And I guess this is like a green flag that you're gonna give to the producers that you are talking with. I think this is on itself a really important like feeling that the producer needs to get from you, right?
Yeah.
Because if the producer gets the feeling that you're not well prepared, maybe the producer is just gonna drop the project just because he gets the feeling that you don't know like what you're going for, right? And that you're not competent enough to get it to step into that.
Well, it depends on what kind of project. I mean, if you have written a script and you just want someone to make it, then you wouldn't know anything. But if you've written a script and you come to me and you want to direct and play the lead, then and you've never done that before, then no.
Yeah.
You know, it's not realistic. So just you don't have to have figured everything out, but you just sort of have to have an idea of what you want, and the idea should be sort of realistic, I think. But you can still be ambitious. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes fully sense to my mind, at least. Like it makes sense that, like, back it up with something. Back it up with something so we can know that it is possible, it's doable. Even if it's ambitious, like, I think ambitious projects, they just have, like, you need to be more creative with your answers to the problems that they arise. I think this is what it comes to my mind now, because, for example, if you want to make a more ambitious project that the directing of photography is a little bit more ambitious, and you want to have it look more interesting. I guess the thing that you need to care about is, like, okay, I have like this ambition, I have like a real specific look in my mind, but then you need to start asking yourself, okay, how can we make this possible? And have this question from the beginning, I guess, right? Because if you don't ask yourself that in the beginning, you're gonna get on set and then you're gonna be like, oh shit, like, I don't know how to do that, right? So I guess this starts from the pre-production, like even before pre-production, it starts while you get into the mindset of, I want to create this, right?
And also don't be afraid of making changes. I mean, when you get feedback, we're just finishing now a short film that we've been working on since 2018. And it has changed the concept of the film. The script has been pretty much the same, but the concept of the film and how we've solved it has changed so much over the years. And we've tried to go in this direction and then no, and then this direction, and then we've just been playing around, and now we finally found a concept that we're really happy about. So,
so what you're saying here, as far as I understand it, is even if sometimes you need to change the route, that doesn't mean that necessarily you need to like kill creativity. You're just kind of like poking things to see, okay, I have this idea and like I love both ideas, but then you're trying the ideas to see how they play out in reality, right?
Yeah. And but the fun thing about this short film is that it's been such an elaborate project at some point, but when we ended up shooting it and we're finishing it now, we're back sort of to where we started in the concept. So that's very cool. But yeah, don't be afraid to explore and see where it takes you. Yeah, it's important to be open-minded, but of course, as a producer, you have a very clear sense of the budget and where you need to end up. And if you're experienced, you know what things cost, and that would also guide you. But I think it's important to manage the money smart, so that the director still can get their vision through.
Now we can continue with, if it's possible, with a little bit again with funding. And now in Norway, if there are any trends when it comes to funding, if there are any trends when it comes like, okay, I have like this topic and this premise, and like I guess there are some topics that it's more easily to get funding for, right? Maybe it's for war movies, for example, in Greece, like it's
In
only
Norway
war
too.
movies.
In Norway too, if you want the big money, it's the war movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but I don't know. Trends, probably. I think that I know from my experience with like the Norwegian Film Institute that we've sometimes gotten feedback that there were a lot of films that were similar to each other. And so then maybe they wouldn't fund all of those films because they want sort of a different topics. But I don't know. I think it's that's a dangerous path to follow. I think to try to follow the trends. I think you should be more follow your passions. But at the same time, it's also if you can find a way to tell a story in a new way, maybe, and use the trends that are in a society at this time, then use them to your advantage and try to do something new. But I've seen a few short films in particular that are very creative and that have made not very original stories. They've just told them in very original ways. So I think that's also, yeah.
Okay, so you don't have like necessarily to sell your soul to devil. I guess there is like a way to also like integrate like into your story what it's already like getting the money, but at the same time make it creative enough so like there is a reason for you to do it. I'm also like I don't like to follow trends myself. I'm asking for people who are in producing and who are into directing what it sells in Norway, so maybe they have in mind, oh, I'm already interested into that topic, so why not doing it, you know? Like,
yeah. When I consider a project, I of course will consider how well it will sell and how it will be received by the audience, but it's not going to be, it's not going to be the defining thing of whether I choose to work with that project or not. It's more a question of, do I like the project? Do I like the people behind the project? And do I think that I can finance it and make it happen? Because that's also important, that I don't oversell myself, and promise things I can't keep. But you asked me about budgeting, how to budget a project. And I never really answered that. I think when you budget a project, you should always budget the script and also ask some questions. You need to ask the director some questions. How do you picture this? How is this a big set or small set, and how many people? And the important questions of things that cost money. But always budget the script and what it says, and then and don't be afraid of asking a lot of questions, because that to make a realistic budget is always calling and checking and asking all the people involved, do you need this? Do you need that? And yeah.
I guess like going to the director and then be like, okay, like what do you want, for example, from the director of photography? And then you go to the director of photography and you're like, okay, what lights do you want? What, like you need to kind of branch out to all of the people. Like after you get all of your people that they work with you, you need to ask them what they want. And then you start kind of building your budget, right?
Yeah. And you just keep, at least in the beginning, you need to talk to your director. If the script says your main character is walking down the street, you have to ask them, is this a busy street? Do we have a lot of extras? Do we have cars? A tram goes by. How married are you to this tram? Do I need to hire a tram to drive by? Or is it just something that you thought of when you were writing it? Just ask all of these questions, and then you can also, if you don't have the director available, you can make critical assumptions. You can just say, I've budgeted this scene. It says we're walking down a street. I have budgeted that there are 20 people walking in the background, so that you make sure that you know what you put in your budget. And then if you get some financing and you attach a DOP and then you start asking all these questions. Like you can ask the DOP, oh, this scene when they're walking down the street, do you plan to shoot it on ground level, or do you need a lift? Do we want like a huge ultra total of the street with all these people? And then you want up, then we need a lift, and then you can budget in the lift, or you can see if you have the money. Mm-hmm. And you just keep asking all these questions until you get all the details that you need.
But I have a question now. How did you learn all those things? Did you have a mentor that he or she helped you learn all those things? Or it was just because you were surrounded by people that they were doing it, and then they were including you like in some way or another, so you were just around and seeing how they're doing it?
I just pretty much learning by doing, I guess. So working from the very first film that I worked on as a production coordinator, I sat down with the line producer and asked if he could go through the budget with me and just showed me the basics. And then every time I did when I worked as a coordinator, I would always get tasks of booking stuff. I booked all the lunches, and I learned that if we have overtime, I have to book some extra food for the evenings. And like I learned all of these things, and you just kind of pick up on it when you keep working. And if lights or camera asked for lift, I usually was the one who had to book it. So I learned what the different departments usually needed for different things. And then when I started working as a project manager, I got even more insights into that. And then finally, when I worked as a line producer, I participated in a workshop called Production Value, which is for junior line producers and junior first ADs. And it's a very intensive workshop over 8 days every year. And that was really, that really changed a lot. I learned so much from that. Yeah.
Okay, so you learn either from in the set by asking and not playing it smart, I guess. Like, because this is what I understood you did. You were like, okay, I don't know how I'm doing that, right?
Yeah.
So like, don't be afraid to ask. And then the second thing is if there are any workshops around.
Yeah.
Like try to find like if there are any workshops around in the place you are, local or maybe in another country even, and go to those workshops to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also ask. I mean, I've done like workshops here in Norway, and I'll show you my budget. I don't mind, if you want to, I can show you a budget that I've made, and people have asked me to look over their things, and I'll be like, yeah, sure. And there's always, always don't be afraid to ask for help, I guess. So I've told this story 1,000 times, but the first film that I did on the very first day, I had to go to the airport to pick up the grip for the film. And when we were driving back to Trondheim, I asked him, so what does a grip do? Because I had no clue. And so he explained it to me. And then I'm like, okay, but on the credits, I could see there's a dollar grip. What's the difference? And then he explained that to me. And then I'm like, okay, I'll just keep asking. And then I just went through the whole crew list of all the different people I didn't know what were doing. So, and he explained it to me. So I think that was a very useful 30-minute car ride back to Trondheim. So that was my first film school lesson, I think.
I love it. I love it.
But you just have to, not be afraid to ask. I think that's maybe an important...
Yeah, it's a good trait, I guess.
Yeah, I think
when
so.
You're working.
Yeah, and admit that I have no clue what this means.
Yeah, and I guess one thing, but because I have like a lot of friends that they're introverts, I think for the people that they see us, it's also like if you're so afraid to ask, go on YouTube and research your question.
Exactly.
Like even if you're so afraid to be on set and ask like the producer how I'm doing that, go back home and like, is everything there? Like now we have AI, ChatGPT, etc. Like,
exactly. I was just going to say.
Double check like afterwards. Ask like, I know that it works like that, but like is it actually how it works? And but you have a reference if you're so afraid, if you're like so anxious that you're not gonna absorb anything when you're asking, go first like to learn on your own and then go ask as well to double check if what you learned on the web it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying,
YouTube and ChatGPT,
yeah,
wonderful resources.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that people are gonna start. That's gonna make everything much faster. Like even like in producing, I would like to ask you about that. Like if you integrate any like AI tools like into your way of working, ChatGPT or whatever.
I just wish one day that I could like just upload my script and they'd do a breakdown and a budget for me. That'd be very nice. But no. So far, I mean, I use ChatGPT, but usually just for like brainstorming and like when I needed a title, I'd just write like a short prompt about what the film is about, and then can you give me some title examples?
Mhm.
And then they're all usually always crap, but at least it gets your brain going, you know, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's really bad.
Mhm.
I can come up with better.
But for the creative part now, you're using ChatGPT just to get your head rolling, but not for the like more like producing stuff, like making like a budget. You're not using that at all.
No, so far I haven't, but I'm actually quite curious to give it a shot to see if I can make a basic budget using some kind of AI, but I haven't explored it much yet.
Mm-hmm.
But also because, you know, when I budget, I use a specific program and also for breakdowns as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Can you
don't.
give us the name of the program?
It's called Movie Magic Budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite expensive though, so it's not really necessary.
Okay.
Unless you, I guess there's a student version, but it's like a license thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they use it all over the world, so you can, no matter where you go, it's the same. So it's Movie Magic Budgeting and Movie Magic Scheduling are the two. But yeah, so I use them. So I don't think I can get any help from ChatGPT for that. But I use it. Actually, I use it quite a bit when writing applications, when filling in forms, because you know you write a synopsis and it's one page, and then it's like, oh, can you give me one that's 250 words? And then it's much easier to like use ChatGPT instead of trying to, or it's much quicker. But you have to always read and make sure that it's okay. And I also always send it over to my writer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to have the language approved.
Yeah, so you don't trust so much ChatGPT.
Oh, the language is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, like it is right, but it is not right at the same time. It feels like a little bit uncanny.
Yeah, it is. So I never ask for like original writing, but to shorten stuff, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I do summaries and stuff like that. I can do that. But I always clean up the language after.
I would like to ask you, for example, if you have like a more experimental script, but you're sure that this thing is not getting funding, how people that they are like a little bit more alternative with the way of approaching, like a little bit more like, because I guess most films that they're getting funding, there is like a story there, right? What about people that they're not necessarily into stories and they're a little bit more experimental? Like, how do those people get around, like with money, etc., etc.? Because I guess those are the people that most of the times, like, they're the poor people or whatever. But like, I'm pretty sure that those people, they can get around, like in the film industry.
I know that quite a few. I know a few filmmakers that are making films outside the system. Mm-hmm. And they make a living working for other people on their films, and then they save up money and finance it themselves. And then, of course, when you work on other people's films, you make friends and you can get them to work for you for quite a, cheap or, yeah. And that's sort of what I did in the beginning as well as a producer. I would line produce a film, and then that would make me enough money so that I could just work on developing my own projects for a few months. And then I'd go out and do something for someone else.
So it's like from one side is like it's straight up, like it's saving money so you can work on the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's where the passion comes in, you have to be, you have to find ways to make a living. And what I experienced today, and this is of course just what I'm seeing, it doesn't necessarily have to be true, but young people today, now I sound super old, but I experienced that people are in a hurry to grow up. People are very, they're in a hurry to get a steady job and to buy a house or an apartment or, just have, I guess, safety. And I can understand that from like going through a crazy time with the pandemic and everything that where things were so unpredictable. It seems like people would like safety and predictability in their lives and stability. And I can understand that. But it also, then you miss out on the opportunity to like just live in a small apartment that you share with your friends. And then you don't need all that money. You don't need that job, and you can work freelance and you can experiment and you can, have the freedom to get the experience that you need and try different things.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily saying that my observation is true, but it's just sort of a thing from being in this industry for 10 years. I think there's been a change there.
People trying to settle in faster.
Yeah.
Let me ask you that. That's an interesting question. What are some, maybe, what is the unique things happening here in Trøndelag? Both difficulties and upsides. Like, what are some good things about someone being in Trondheim as a producer or as a film director or whatever? And what are also some drawbacks?
I think one of the good things is that the industry here is quite small. So it's, people are accessible. It's easy to get like a good overview of who's who. Collaboration also happens between companies and different constellations of collaborations on different projects. We're used to not getting funding from the NFI, so we're creative in how to fund our projects without them. Trondheim and Trøndelag has a great documentary. They're making great documentaries here. There's a lot of experience and people have wonderful track record. So it's a great place for documentaries. And so I think it's a good place to be. And also I can see that there's a lot of talent here that are on the verge of doing bigger projects. And like we're just finishing a feature film. I know there's several others that are working on feature films. There's some great documentary features that are either just finished or in production just now from new talents that haven't done feature-length things before. So it's definitely something going on. At the same time, it's been really rough, I think, the last few years for people that are dependent on like commercial work, that the budgets are smaller and also there are less productions being made. So I know that that's been difficult for many people. But yeah, so that's the drawback.
So you think that slowly, even if there wasn't like an industry here, you have a feeling that it's getting there, right? And maybe I would like to ask you here about your film. Like if you can tell us a little bit about your film and like what is it about, etc., etc. Like and about like, for example, how the region helped you do that here and how the region also didn't help like for getting this done.
Well, the film that we're working on, it's called Heim. It's a romantic comedy about Annie who loses her job and then has to move home to her mom at Steinkjer. And then she meets old friends and ghosts from the past that she has to deal with. So that's a very short summary of what the film is about. We just finished filming in September and we're now in the middle of editing, slowly moving into the rest of post-production. And then film's opening next summer.
Okay. In cinemas here in Norway?
Yep. The region has, this film wouldn't have been made if it wasn't here, I think. We could have made it somewhere else in Norway, but it's not a film that could have been made in Oslo because it's a film about not being in Oslo, pretty much. So it's sort of a film I think that many people can relate to because it's about moving to the big city and then for some reason having to move home. You know, is it your own choice, or is it that you, for some reason, circumstances are forcing you back home? And then even if it's, you know, even if you move home by choice, it can be not what you expected. So I think it's a movie that many people can relate to.
I can relate to that at the moment, actually.
Right. So, and then because we did it in Steinkjer, we got a lot of help from the region. Of course, there are regional funding that's available to us because we are based here. And that was a big help. We couldn't have made the film without the regional funding that we got, both public and private. And then what are the setbacks? Well, I don't know. I think, of course, that's part of the bigger picture of why we didn't get national funding. But at the same time, maybe this wasn't a film that was meant to be in the NFI, in their programs. I mean, they have very strict criteria for who they fund. So we have a film soon in cinemas.
Perfect.
So
perfect. I'm actually really interested in seeing that because it hits pretty close to me.
Yeah.
Also, like being away from my home, and I always have like those thoughts. What about going back to my place? And for me, it's not like going from Oslo to Steinkjer. It's going like from one place of the world to another, right?
Yeah.
It's like a lot of kilometers. So like it sounds pretty interesting. Okay, we can start wrapping up with my last question. What would be like something that you would like to tell to your younger self when you were starting out? I know that you didn't start that young in the film industry, but when you were starting, what was one thing that now you would like to help a little bit as a comment?
I guess it's not as easy as a comment because I think that all the choices that I've made throughout the years have led me to where I am today. I mean, I've done a lot of different things. I never did like a straightforward thing. I always, I guess, did things a little backwards because I'm restless and impulsive. And I think I had a lot of misconceptions about who I was when I was younger and insecurities. And I wish that I could have sort of cleared those away at a younger age. But at the same time, I mean, don't we all? We all have weird misconceptions about ourselves when we're young and insecurities. And but I think maybe I carried them with me much longer than I should have. So maybe if I could have helped myself clear those up when I was younger, that would have been good. I think also maybe in doing my job after starting with film production, to not be so scared of asking questions, I think. Because, I mean, I've always been very good at asking questions and being very honest about what I don't know. But I think if I've been in a situation, like if I've been in a production where I've felt like I've taken on too much, I wish that I'd been taken time to like regaining control sooner. Yeah. If that makes sense. If I feel like I'm sort of on treading deep water and not really knowing what to do, I wish I'd been better at just regaining control and asking for help to do that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. That's it. Bente, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure. And it's a great pleasure that most of the professionals here, they accepted my offer.
Good.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be helpful for people. Yeah, so thanks a lot to people that they joined us today. And see you next time.
Thank you.